In the year 2492, humanity had not only found its place among the stars, but had been invited to join the esteemed Galactic Council, a collective of advanced civilizations spread across the Milky Way. This council met quarterly on Luxara, a neutral planet known for its stunning crystal forests and its diplomatic sanctuary status. Commander Alyssa Chen of the Terran Space Alliance, TSA, was selected to represent Earth at this pivotal meeting. The agenda was packed with issues of interstellar trade, space piracy, and the regulation of wormhole travel. Yet, unbeknownst to the council members, Alyssa's addition to the delegation would bring an unprecedented disruption to the cosmic order. Alyssa, a pioneering astronaut with a charismatic demeanor, had chosen to bring along her beloved pet, a golden retriever named Buddy, as a symbol of Earth's cherished traditions and values. Pets were common on Earth but unheard of in the Galactic Council, where members typically viewed animals either as fellow sentient beings with rights or as wildlife to be protected. As Alyssa's ship docked at the Luxara interstellar port, Buddy was at her side, his tail wagging, completely oblivious to the history he was about to make. The TSA had meticulously prepared for every aspect of this journey, except for one. They had not considered the alien culture's perspectives on a human and her dog. The grand hall of the council was an architectural marvel, lined with bioluminescent pillars and floating light orbs casting gentle glows on the delegates. Species of various forms and sizes filled the room, communicating in a harmonious blend of translated dialects. Alyssa entered the hall with Buddy leashed gently beside her, his coat gleaming under the ethereal lights. The moment the other delegates laid eyes on Buddy, the chamber filled with a cacophony of reactions. The Zeltrons, a reptilian species with strict codes against domestication of any creature, hissed in disapproval. The Aquarii, sentient aquatic beings in their hovering tanks, bubbled vigorously, a sign of deep agitation. High Counselor Vrex, a towering figure with skin that shimmered like the surface of a star, called the assembly to order. Commander Chen, Vrex's voice boomed through the translator device, echoing off the crystalline walls. Would you enlighten us as to the nature of this companion you've brought into our midst? Alyssa took a deep breath, acutely aware that every eye in the room was fixed upon her and Buddy. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice steady despite the palpable tension. This is Buddy, my pet. On Earth, pets are considered family members, companions who share our homes and our lives. A murmur ran through the chamber. In many galactic cultures, the concept of keeping another life form as a pet blurred ethical lines dangerously close to slavery or the subjugation of lesser beings. Salamic of the ethereal shades, a species known for their psychic abilities, floated forward. His form was barely visible, like a wisp of smoke. And does this Buddy possess sentience? Does he contribute to your society? He questioned, his voice a soft whisper that nevertheless carried a sharp edge. Alyssa nodded. Buddy does not possess human-like intelligence, but he is sentient in his way. He provides companionship, emotional support, and yes, even protection. He is not a tool or a slave. He is my partner in life's journey. The session broke into smaller discussions, with groups debating heatedly. The concept of a pet was challenging deeply ingrained beliefs and practices across the galaxy. As the debates raged, Alyssa could only hope that her decision to bring Buddy would ultimately foster understanding and tolerance among the stars, rather than division. But as she stood there, watching the faces of countless species display a range of emotions from curiosity to outrage, she realized that this meeting was only the beginning of a much larger conversation. In the aftermath of Buddy's introduction to the Galactic Council, Commander Alyssa Chen found herself at the center of a galactic controversy that rippled through the chambers and into the corridors of Luxara's grand diplomatic complex. The second session of the council convened with a palpable tension in the air. High Counselor Vrex initiated a formal discussion on the ethical implications of human-pet relationships, posing a challenge to millennia-old beliefs about sentience and the rights of living creatures. The presence of this Earth creature, referred to as a pet, introduces a new dynamic to our understanding of companionship across species, Vrex stated, his tone a mix of curiosity and caution. We must consider, is this an expression of mutual respect or an archaic practice of dominance? The council, composed of delegates from over 200 star systems, broke into smaller factions, each debating fiercely. The intellectual collective from Sirius, known for their advanced philosophical ideologies, argued that the bond between Elisa and Buddy represented a form of symbiotic relationship beneficial to both parties. Meanwhile, the more conservative Zolorians from the rim of the Andromeda sector viewed the practice as a dangerous precedent for species hierarchy. During the break, Elisa was approached by Salamic, who had been observing her and Buddy with a quiet intensity. "Commander Chen, may I engage in a direct mind link with Buddy? I wish to understand his emotions and thoughts directly," Salamic proposed, his request unprecedented in the history of council meetings. Elisa hesitated, aware of the potential risks of exposing Buddy's simple, unguarded thoughts to such a powerful psychic species. Yet she also saw an opportunity to bridge understanding. "Yes, but I ask that you respect his mind as you would any council member's," she agreed, placing her trust in the ethereal shade's honor. The link was established under the watchful eyes of many. Salamic closed his vaporous form around Buddy, who sat calmly, occasionally wagging his tail. Moments later, Salamic re-emerged, his usual wispy form swirling with new colors. "His thoughts are pure, filled with affection and loyalty towards Elisa," Salamic shared with the assembly, his tone mixed with wonder and respect. "There is no malice, no cunning, only a simple joy in being and loving. We who pride ourselves on emotional control have perhaps forgotten the purity of such feelings." This revelation turned the tide of the debate for many. Discussions shifted towards the emotional and psychological benefits of interspecies companionships, analyzing how such relationships could be understood within the frameworks of their societies. However, not all were convinced. A faction led by the Zeltrons prepared a formal request for an investigative committee to study the implications of non-sentient companions within the Galactic Alliance, citing potential risks to the established order. As the council adjourned for the day, Elisa felt a mix of relief and apprehension. She had opened minds but also unearthed deep-seated fears and prejudices. As she walked back to her quarters with Buddy, she knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, yet she also felt a glimmer of hope that understanding and acceptance might eventually prevail. As the Galactic Council reconvened for its third session, the atmosphere had subtly shifted. Commander Elisa Chen's bold decision to share Buddy's presence and the subsequent psychic revelation by Salamic had sparked curiosity among many delegates. The session was to begin with the findings from the investigative committee, but before that, an unexpected proposal was put forth by the Aquarii delegation. Lysir, the chief delegate of the Aquarii, floated forward in her spherical tank, her movements graceful and deliberate. "Esteemed council members," she began, her voice echoing softly through the translators. "The discussion surrounding the Earth Pet has opened our eyes to the potential for cultural exchanges that could benefit us all. We propose a series of interspecies exchange programs to deepen our understanding and tolerance of different life forms and their customs." The proposal stirred the council, igniting a flurry of whispers and nods of approval. The idea of learning directly from other species' experiences and cultural practices had always been a cornerstone of the council's philosophy, but it had never been implemented on such an intimate scale. Elisa listened intently, realizing that this could be a turning point not only for humanity's standing in the council, but also for interstellar relations as a whole. "The Terran Space Alliance supports this proposal," she declared, "and offers to host the first exchange on Earth, where delegates can experience firsthand our customs, including our relationships with pets." The session that followed was one of the most dynamic in the history of the Council. Delegates from various species volunteered to participate, each eager to showcase their cultural practices and learn from others. The Zeltrons, despite their reservations, agreed to observe and report, ensuring that the Council's ethical standards were upheld. As plans for the exchange took shape, Elisa was approached by Vrex, who had been pensive throughout the discussions. "Commander Chen," he said, his voice less formidable than usual,
I must admit your pet buddy has challenged many of my preconceptions. I would be honored to visit Earth and learn more about your species' emotional bonds." Alyssa smiled, pleased by the High Counselor's openness. "We would be honored to have you, High Counselor. I believe there's much we can learn from each other." The preparations for the cultural exchange were extensive. Earth had to prepare not just to host alien visitors, but to do so in a way that accommodated their diverse physiological and environmental needs. Meanwhile, Buddy became something of a celebrity, a symbol of Earth's unique approach to companionship. On the day the delegates arrived on Earth, they were greeted by a festival of human cultures. Music, food, and art from across the globe were displayed, celebrating the diversity of human life. Buddy was there too, mingling among the aliens with his usual good nature, now a diplomatic envoy in his own right. As the delegates experienced Earth's traditions, from Japanese tea ceremonies to African drum circles, they shared stories of their own customs. The serious delegates introduced a meditation technique that enhanced mental clarity, while the Aquarii shared their water-based art forms, creating sculptures that flowed and changed form with the currents. The exchange was not without its difficulties. Some delegates struggled with Earth's gravity and atmosphere, requiring special accommodations, but each challenge was met with a spirit of cooperation and a willingness to adapt, qualities that had brought humanity into the stars. As the event concluded, Alyssa and Buddy stood watching the sunset over the ocean, a sight few of the delegates had ever experienced. Around them, laughter and conversation continued as new friendships were forged. The cultural exchange on Earth had ignited a spark of curiosity and empathy across the Galactic Council, creating a bridge for understanding that extended beyond formal diplomacy. As the delegates returned to their respective worlds, they carried with them not only gifts and artifacts from Earth, but also stories of a planet rich with life and emotion. Commander Alyssa Chen and Buddy, having been at the heart of this unprecedented initiative, were invited to visit several of the Council members' planets as a reciprocal gesture. The first invitation came from the ethereal Shades, whose home planet, Nebulon, was seldom visited by outsiders due to its unique atmospheric conditions. Nebulon was a world enshrouded in perpetual mists and low light conditions, ideal for the Shades but challenging for human senses. The Shades, however, had prepared for Alyssa's arrival meticulously. They had modified a habitat with human-compatible atmosphere and lighting, showing their commitment to hospitality and mutual respect. Upon arrival, Alyssa and Buddy were greeted by Salamic, who had first connected psychically with Buddy. "Welcome to Nebulon, Commander Chen. We hope to show you the depth of our culture just as you shared yours," Salamic conveyed telepathically, his form shimmering gently in the diffused light. The Nebulonian experience was profoundly introspective. The Shades showed Alyssa their ancient libraries, where knowledge was stored in crystalline structures that could be accessed through psychic interaction. Here, Alyssa learned about the Shades' philosophy of existence, which emphasized non-attachment and a deep connection to the cosmos. Buddy, meanwhile, became an unexpected bridge between the humans and Shades. His simple, joyous demeanor and openness to affection showcased traits that the Shades, in their reserved and contemplative culture, found both fascinating and enlightening. The visit included a session where the Shades attempted to form a temporary psychic link with other council members, facilitated by technology that Alyssa's team had brought along. The experiment was partially successful, providing a fleeting but profound connection that allowed participants to share emotions and thoughts directly, a first step towards what Salamic termed a true understanding beyond words. Their next destination was the aquatic world of Aquarius, home to the Aquarii. Here, the challenge was not just the environment, but also the physical form of the hosts. The Aquarii were beings of water, moving gracefully in their vast oceans, while Alyssa and Buddy needed special suits to interact within their habitat. The Aquarii showcased their culture through their art of fluid dynamics, creating sculptures and patterns in the water that were both transient and beautiful. Alyssa participated in their art making, using a specially designed suit that allowed her to move and breathe underwater. The experience was not only a demonstration of Aquarii culture, but also a lesson in adaptability and the beauty of temporary creations. As the visit concluded, Lysir approached Alyssa.
Your journey has brought much to consider, she bubbled. The notion of companionship as you live it, fluid yet strong, has much to teach us. Alyssa looked at Buddy, who was playfully chasing bubbles in the water, and smiled. And we have much to learn from you as well, she replied. While the cultural exchange programs initiated by Commander Alyssa Chen had successfully forged new bridges and understanding among many members of the Galactic Council, not all reactions were positive. The impact of these exchanges began to stir underlying tensions and fears among certain factions who viewed the deepening human integration with suspicion. The next council session was held on Verdancia, a gas giant where the Zeltron delegation held significant influence. Verdancia's floating platforms above the dense, swirling clouds offered a stark contrast to Earth's vibrant landscapes. As Alyssa and Buddy arrived, they were met with a colder reception than they had encountered on previous visits. The Zeltrons, known for their conservative views, had prepared a series of motions aimed at regulating the extent of cultural exchanges, particularly those involving non-sentient beings. High Counselor Vrex, who had previously expressed his reservations yet had shown openness on Earth, now seemed to be under political pressure to align with more conservative elements. Commander Chen, he stated in a formal tone as the session began, while we value the insights from these exchanges, there is growing concern about the unpredictability they introduce into our societies. We propose stricter guidelines to ensure these interactions do not compromise our cultural integrity. Alyssa listened intently, realizing the delicate balance she had to maintain. She needed to address these concerns without alienating members of the Council or undermining the progress they had made. High Counselor, I understand the concerns. However, it is precisely this unpredictability that can lead to growth and innovation in our societies. Perhaps we could establish a framework to evaluate the impacts systematically, allowing us to proceed with caution and care. Her proposal sparked a heated debate among the Council members. Delegates from worlds that had hosted or visited Earth spoke in favor of continuing the exchanges with minimal restrictions, sharing personal stories of how the experiences had enriched their perspectives. Salamik, ever the voice of reason, floated forward. Let us not fear the unknown so much that we barricade ourselves against the potential for growth. We have much to learn from each other, and these exchanges are but a first step. However, a faction led by the Zeltron delegate Mariv was not convinced. Our primary duty is to maintain the stability of our societies. These interactions, especially with non-sentient beings like pets, could disrupt our fundamental understanding of life and rights. The session extended into late hours, with Alyssa and her allies working tirelessly to negotiate a compromise. Finally, a resolution was passed. The cultural exchanges would continue, but with increased oversight. An interstellar committee would be established to monitor the exchanges and report on their societal impacts. As the council adjourned, Alyssa felt a mix of relief and concern. They had preserved the heart of the exchange initiative, but the new oversight measures indicated growing unease among some factions. Returning to her quarters, Alyssa looked at Buddy, who seemed oblivious to the political storms swirling around him. She knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she also knew that the journey was worth it. The seeds of understanding had been planted, and with care and effort, they could blossom into lasting connections. After the contentious council session on Verdancia, Commander Alyssa Chen was determined to strengthen the alliances she had formed and prove the value of the cultural exchange programs. The next step in her journey took her to the planet Cygnus, known for its advanced technological society and its members' intellectual curiosity. Cygnus was a planet where digital information flowed as freely as water, and its citizens, cybernetic beings called Cygnites, lived in a seamless integration of technology and biology. The Cygnites were intrigued by the concept of emotional companionship that Buddy represented, something their highly logical minds found both alien and fascinating. Upon arrival, Alyssa and Buddy were welcomed into a world of towering data structures and neon-lit skies. Their host, Delegate Sinara, a prominent member of the Cygnite Council, expressed genuine interest in understanding the human Cygnite potential for emotional learning. Commander Chen, we have observed your interactions with your pet and are curious about the emotional bandwidth such relationships entail. We believe this could lead to advancements in our empathy modules, Sinara explained. The visit was marked by a series of workshops where Alyssa shared insights into human emotions, relationships, and the role of pets in enhancing mental and emotional well-being. Buddy, ever the ambassador, played his part by simply being his affable self, allowing the Signites to study his behavior and interactions. As the Signites processed this new knowledge, they proposed a joint project, the development of an emotional understanding interface, EUI, a technology that would allow Signites to experience a simulated version of human emotional states. Alyssa agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to deepen the emotional awareness of a species that had long prioritized logic over feelings. The development of the EUI was a groundbreaking endeavor. Human and Signite engineers and psychologists worked together, using data from Buddy's interactions and human emotional responses to create a prototype. When the first trial was conducted, the results were beyond encouraging. Sinara, who volunteered for the initial interface test, experienced a simulated range of emotions from joy to empathy. "This is a revelation," Sinara admitted after the test, visibly moved by the experience. "To feel, even artificially, the bonds that unite you to your companion. It adds a dimension to existence we had not fully appreciated." The success of the EUI project on Cygnus sparked interest across other worlds, leading to more invitations for Alyssa and Buddy to visit and share their unique perspective. Each visit added threads to the growing tapestry of interspecies understanding and cooperation. However, back on Verdancia, Mariv and his faction viewed these developments with increasing alarm. They saw the emotional integrations and technologies like the EUI as potential threats to the traditional values and stability of their societies. In secret, they began to mobilize, planning to curtail what they considered dangerous experiments before they could spread further. As Alyssa prepared for her next journey, unaware of the brewing storm, she reflected on the progress they had made. Each step forward was a testament to the power of understanding and the potential for change. Yet as the shadows of dissent grew, she knew they would soon face their greatest challenges yet. As Commander Alyssa Chen and Buddy continued their diplomatic and scientific journey across the galaxy, the undercurrents of dissent from the conservative factions of the Galactic Council, led by the Zeltron delegate Mariv, began to coalesce into a more organized resistance. The success of the Emotional Understanding Interface, EUI, and similar initiatives had not only brought about a new era of interspecies empathy, but also sparked fears and suspicions among those wary of too much change. Alyssa's next destination was the lush garden world of Verdancia, renowned for its vast botanical gardens and a culture that revered living in harmony with nature. The Verdantians, humanoid beings with a deep, intrinsic connection to their planet's flora, were eager to understand the human concept of emotional companionship with animals, seeing it as potentially analogous to their relationships with Verdantia's sentient plants. Upon arrival, Alyssa and Buddy were greeted with a ceremony that was both a feast for the senses and a testament to Verdantian hospitality. The air was filled with the sweet fragrances of blooming flowers, and the sounds of melodious plant-based instruments created a serene ambiance. Delegate Verda, a prominent leader among Verdantians, guided Alyssa and Buddy through their sacred groves. "Our bond with the plants is not merely ecological but deeply spiritual. We believe every living thing has emotions, albeit different from humans or Signites," Verda explained, her voice soft yet carrying a profound strength. Inspired by the Signites' EUI, Alyssa proposed a similar interface that could help Verdantians share their unique plant-related emotions with the Council, potentially easing some of the fears about different forms of life and intelligence. The project was met with enthusiasm, and soon, a team of Verdantian and human scientists began adapting the EUI technology to link with the sentient plants. Meanwhile, back on Verdancia, Mariv convened a secretive meeting with like-minded delegates from various planets. The growing influence of Earth and its unconventional ideas threatened what Mariv viewed as the fundamental pillars of galactic society. "We must take definitive action," Mariv urged, his tone grave. "The fabric of our civilizations is at risk, These emotional experiments undermine the order and predictability upon which our council was built. The group agreed to form a coalition, the Guardians of Tradition, aimed at instituting measures to restrict or even ban the use of technologies like the EUI, and to limit the influence of Earth and its allies within the Council. They began drafting a series of resolutions and seeking support from other delegates who shared their concerns. As Alyssa worked on the new project in Verdancia, she remained blissfully unaware of the growing opposition. The success of the Verdancia experiment, where human visitors experienced the emotions of plants through the adapted EUI, further solidified her belief in the benefits of these exchanges. However, messages from her allies hinted at brewing troubles, urging her to prepare for a confrontation at the next council meeting. The chapter concludes with Alyssa and Buddy watching a Verdantian sunset, the peaceful scene belying the turbulent times ahead. As the stars began to twinkle in the twilight sky, Alyssa knew that the path forward would require not just diplomacy and innovation, but also resilience against the forces arrayed against her. The tensions that had been simmering beneath the surface of the Galactic Council finally reached a boiling point. Commander Alyssa Chen, accompanied by Buddy, returned to the Council's meeting hall on Luxara, where the atmosphere was charged with an uneasy anticipation. The Council was set to discuss the resolutions proposed by the Guardians of Tradition, aimed at curtailing the cultural exchanges and technological innovations that had become central to Alyssa's mission. As the delegates gathered, the Grand Hall, usually a place of unity and discourse, felt divided. Mariv and his coalition had been successful in rallying a significant number of members to their cause, framing the debate as a choice between preserving traditional values and risking the destabilization of their societies through unchecked emotional exploration. Alyssa, aware of the critical stakes, had prepared meticulously. She brought with her testimonials from various worlds that had participated in the exchange programs, including visual and emotional recordings made possible by the EUI technology. These testimonials highlighted the profound benefits and increased understanding that the initiatives had fostered. High Counselor Vrex opened the session with a solemn tone. "Today, we stand at a crossroads," he declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The resolutions before us challenge the very nature of our Council's mission, to foster peace and understanding across the cosmos. Let us proceed with both caution and open minds." Mariv was the first to speak, his arguments pointed and forceful. While the intentions behind these exchanges may be noble, we cannot ignore the potential consequences. These emotional technologies, these pets, and their unpredictable influences, can we truly afford to integrate such wild cards into the fabric of our societies? Alyssa took the floor, her response calm yet passionate. "What we risk by embracing these initiatives is not our stability, but our isolation," she countered. "The testimonials you will see today do not just show the joys of understanding, but the strength that comes from embracing diversity. Each society that has participated has gained insight, gained empathy, gained a broader view of the cosmos that we all share." The debate lasted for hours, with testimonials being presented, debates flaring and alliances being tested. The Signites, represented by Sonera, showcased the enhancements to their empathy modules. The Verdantians, through Delegate Verda, shared their newfound ability to communicate the emotions of their sentient plants, broadening everyone's understanding of life and consciousness. As the session drew to a close, the Council prepared to vote. The air was thick with tension, each delegate acutely aware that their decision would shape the future direction of the Galactic Council. The vote was closer than anyone had expected. By a narrow margin, the resolutions proposed by the Guardians of Tradition were defeated. The chamber erupted into a mixture of cheers and murmurs of discontent. Mariv, though defeated, was not deterred. "This is not the end," he whispered to his allies. "We must regroup and reconsider our approach." Alyssa and Buddy, standing together, felt a mix of relief and foreboding. They had won this battle, but the war for the heart and soul of the Council was far from over. As they exited the chamber, Alyssa looked down at Buddy, whose simple presence had sparked such profound debates and changes. "Let's keep going," she said softly, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Following the tumultuous council meeting on Luxara, Commander Alyssa Chen and Buddy returned to Earth, both to regroup and to evaluate the next steps in their ongoing mission to promote understanding and cooperation across the galaxy. Despite the narrow victory at the Council, the opposition had not been silenced, and Alyssa knew that the challenges ahead would require new strategies and alliances. Back on Earth, Alyssa convened a summit with leaders from the participating exchange program, Worlds, as well as experts in diplomacy, xenopsychology, and interstellar law. The goal was to solidify the support network and brainstorm ways to further integrate the cultural exchange initiatives into the fabric of the Galactic Council's operations. During the summit, a new idea emerged from the discussions: a traveling cultural exhibit that would tour various planets, showcasing the diverse ways of life, art, technology, and companionship from across the Council's member worlds. This exhibit would not only promote deeper understanding, but also demonstrate the tangible benefits of the exchange programs. Alyssa and her team wasted no time in putting this plan into action. The exhibit was designed to be modular and adaptable to different environments, capable of being hosted on planets with atmospheres and gravities differing vastly from Earth's. Each member world contributed something unique. The Signites provided advanced holographic display technology. The Verdantians included interactive representations of their sentient plants, and Earth contributed artworks and live demonstrations of human-canine companionship, with Buddy as the star. As the exhibit made its way from one planet to another, it was met with curiosity and enthusiasm. Crowds gathered to experience the wonders it presented, from holographic reenactments of Earth's historical events to live sessions where visitors could feel the emotions of Verdantian plants. The success of the exhibit slowly turned the tide of public opinion, making the cultural exchanges more popular and accepted. Meanwhile, Mariv and the Guardians of Tradition were monitoring these developments closely. Frustrated by their inability to halt the momentum Alyssa had generated, they began to focus on influencing the younger generations of their own worlds, hoping to instill traditional values and skepticism about too much integration. Unbeknownst to Alyssa, this strategy started to create a divide among the younger populations on several conservative planets, where schools began teaching courses on the dangers of losing one's cultural identity and the risks posed by unchecked emotional influences from other species. As the exhibit prepared to move to its next destination, a troubling incident occurred. A sabotage attempt was made on the exhibit's main generator on the Signite planet. The damage was minimal, thanks to quick action by the security team, but the message was clear. Not everyone was ready to embrace change. Alyssa, undeterred but cautious, increased security for the exhibit and reached out to her allies for support. She knew that facing this opposition head-on was necessary, but it had to be done in a way that didn't alienate those with genuine concerns about cultural preservation. The chapter closes as Alyssa reviews the security footage, determined to identify those responsible for the sabotage. She realizes that while they had made significant progress, the journey toward universal acceptance and understanding was far from over. The stars above, once a beacon of hope and adventure, now also reminded her of the vigilance required to protect that hope. As the cultural exhibit continued its tour across the galaxy, Commander Alyssa Chen and her team worked tirelessly to address the growing divide caused by the Guardians of Tradition's influence. The sabotage incident on the Signite planet had been a stark reminder of the challenges still facing their mission. Alyssa realized that it was not enough to simply showcase the benefits of cultural exchanges. She needed to engage directly with the dissenting voices and address their concerns head-on. The next council meeting was fast approaching, and Alyssa prepared a comprehensive presentation. Her goal was to not only highlight the successes of the exhibit, but also to propose a new initiative, a council-sponsored educational program that would allow young beings from different worlds to spend time on Earth and other participating planets, learning about each culture firsthand. As the council convened on Luxara, the atmosphere was less tense than the previous meeting, but the stakes were just as high. Alyssa presented her case with a series of vivid testimonials from those who had participated in the exhibit, including young individuals whose perspectives had changed through their experiences. I've learned that fear often comes from the unknown, one young Signite expressed via a recorded message. Understanding different cultures and emotions has made me a better citizen of the galaxy. However, Mariv and his allies were prepared with their counter-arguments, focusing on the need to protect cultural purity and autonomy. We must not allow our unique identities to be diluted by foreign influences, Mariv argued passionately. The debate that followed was intense, with delegates from both sides presenting their views. However, the tide seemed to turn when Delegate Verda from Verdancia stepped forward with a compelling argument. "Change is as natural as the seasons in Verdancia," she said, her voice calm yet persuasive. "Just as our plants adapt and evolve, so must our cultures. Isolation will only lead to stagnation." The council voted after hours of deliberation. By a significant majority, Alyssa's proposal for the educational program was approved, marking a decisive victory for her and her allies. With the new program approved, Alyssa organized the first group of students from various worlds, including some from traditionally conservative planets. They arrived on Earth with a mixture of excitement and apprehension, but they were met with warmth and an eagerness to share. Over the following months, these students lived and studied alongside human peers, learning about Earth's history, culture, and technology, as well as participating in visits to other planets involved in the program. The interactions were not without challenges, but the shared experiences broke down many barriers. Meanwhile, Alyssa and her team worked to uncover the culprits behind the sabotage. Their investigation revealed that a small faction within the Guardians of Tradition was responsible. With this knowledge, Alyssa approached Mariv, offering a chance for dialogue rather than confrontation. Surprisingly, Mariv agreed to meet. In a private discussion, he admitted his fears about losing cultural identity, but also expressed his astonishment at the positive changes he saw in the youth who had participated in the programs. The chapter concludes with Alyssa and Mariv addressing a joint session of the Council, announcing a collaborative effort to ensure that cultural exchanges preserve the best of each world while fostering a broader understanding. It was a moment of unity that few had expected, signaling a new chapter for the Galactic Council.